So I just woke up this morning to news of Whittaker taking on Dricus Du Plessis, and I just kind of had to make a video about it. So I like this matchup. I like it, and I like it because I think that Whittaker will win, and I like it also because we know what this matchup means. Dana White has said the winner of this fight will fight Israel Adesanya in Sydney. And before I kind of get into the video, I've got a new background. My UFC 285 posters arrived. So I've got the signed 285 posters. I've got the John Jones versus Garn signed poster and the Shevchenko versus Grasso signed poster. They're both behind me. You can't really see them, but the way that my room is like kind of laid out, I've actually got a filing cabinet right here. It would be like super impractical for me to put them any lower, so you can't really see them, but I thought that would be pretty cool background. Artem Lobov, the Artem Lobov signed thing I've got, I might have to put like around here on the door, on the back of the door. I might see if I can make that work. It could be kind of funny to still have Artem Lobov in the background, but that was a long intro, but I thought I'd just explain the background. So I like Whittaker in this fight. Dricus Du Plessis, he just had nose surgery, and I believe he just had nose surgery as in that was like 2-3 weeks ago. So I thought Dricus Du Plessis might need a little bit more time to recover from that. I've never had nose surgery, but I kind of assumed like maybe he would need time to like let his nose like heal or like get used to the new surgery or whatever they did to his nose and let it recover. But no, he's straight back in there. He's going to be fighting in July, UFC 290. This might honestly be one of the best cards of all time. I mean, it's already going to be one of the best cards of all time. Look at this. But I believe they could continue to stack this card. It is crazy good. Whittaker versus Tresean Gore is on the main card at the moment on Tapology. I think they've got to swap that out with Dan Hooker versus Jalen Turner. I feel like what we might get is Volkanovski, Rodriguez, main, co-main, Moreno, Pantoja. And then, maybe after that, I feel like you might actually get the Whittaker Du Plessis fight, and then the Figueiredo fight, and then maybe opening up the main card would be Dan Hooker and Jalen Turner. Whittaker, he can just headline the prelims. But when it comes to this matchup, I like Whittaker's chances in this fight. Dricus Du Plessis, he's shown terrible cardio in the past. We do know that was because his nose has been all kind of messed up for a long time, and he was breathed through his mouth. You breathe heavy through his mouth, and you know, it does make sense, but he's just had that nose surgery, so his cardio could be better. But with a guy with such a kickboxing background like him, his striking's not really that great. And Whittaker, I think, on the feet would have an advantage on this fight. And if he doesn't have an advantage in the first round, it would definitely be in the second and third, because I feel like Dricus still will slow down, you know what I mean? He hasn't got the best cardio in the world, and we do know that's because of his nose. But also at the same time, you know, he still could have spent a little bit more time to work on the cardio, because it's kind of his biggest problem. It's a mix of a cardio problem and also just not really being able to manage his gas tank. He kind of goes all out in the first round, but when it comes to Dricus Du Plessis' last fight against Derek Brunson, man, like, he didn't look that good. Like, it was not a good performance whatsoever by Dricus Du Plessis, honestly. And Whittaker, imagine what Whittaker would do to that version of Derek Brunson. I think Whittaker wins this fight. We haven't seen Whittaker go for takedowns earlier in his career, but more recently he has been mixing in the wrestling and grappling, and I like that in this matchup as well. I know Dricus Du Plessis has very good grappling. I know he's got very good ability to get submissions. I believe he actually has more submission wins than knockouts on his record. That is still a fact. He's got 10 wins by submission. I still don't think Whittaker is going to be too scared to grapple with Dricus Du Plessis, and I think maybe if anything kind of goes wrong on the feet, he can lean into that grappling against Dricus Du Plessis and have his own success. I like Whittaker in this matchup a lot. I like him even in the Izzy fight. I think Izzy has made rapid improvements though. He looked so much better in the Pereira fight, the second Pereira fight, than he did in the first, in my opinion. I think Whittaker's making improvements too. He just beat Marvin Vettori pretty easily, took him down as well, defended the one shot that Vettori kind of did. I like Whittaker in this matchup. I think he beats Du Plessis, and I think there's a good chance to get to finish as well, because Whittaker has not finished anyone since 2017. It's kind of wild, you know what I mean? Like Whittaker, you don't really think of him as like a boring fighter, because he's not. He's very entertaining, but man, just has not got a finish in a long time. And I think he finds one over Dricus Du Plessis. I think he would finish Dricus Du Plessis probably in the third round, or maybe the second. Like, Dricus gassed out against Derek Brunson, and you know, like, I know you really could put it down to his nose having issues and not really having a good ability to breathe, but At the same time, they're still part of that being a little bit of a gas tank problem, and we know that Robert Whittaker can go 5 rounds. He's been 5 rounds multiple times before, and I think Robert Whittaker, he's still improving. I'm sure Dricus Du Plessis is making rapid improvements himself, but I just think Robert Whittaker's just levels above Dricus Du Plessis, honestly. He's that good. Let's just talk about the card, though, while I've got the opportunity to talk about UFC 290. I love this card, man. It's just a shame we didn't get Jones versus Miocic, but that's not the worst thing in the world, because if you think about it like this, Jones versus Miocic will be on another super stacked card. So we're going to have multiple stacked cards before the end of the year. This is one of them. Volkanovski-Rodriguez. Fantastic fight. I think Yair Rodriguez is one of the toughest tests for Alexander Volkanovski in the 145-pound division. Do I think Volkanovski passes it? Yes, I do. I think if anything goes wrong on the feet, just like Max Holloway did against Yair Rodriguez, Volkanovski can shoot for takedowns. Brandon Moreno versus Alejandro Pantoja. Pantoja season, boys. I have been all over Pantoja. Even when Brandon Moreno was fighting Davison Figueiredo, I said, like, these guys are just fighting for Pantoja's belt. Pantoja is the champ of 125 in my eyes, and I think he will beat Brandon Moreno to unify that. Bo Nickel versus Tresean Gore. You know, Bo Nickel's going to win. But, you know, Tresean Gore, if he can defend takedowns, he could look good. But Tresean Gore's always been, in my opinion, I don't know, just like a little bit thrown into the deep end a little bit too soon. You know, like even on the Ultimate Fighter, he'd fought 3 times as a pro, all over guys that were debuting or 1-0. Like, it was just way too much too soon. Like, way too much too soon for him. And, you know, it kind of has a little bit been proven in the UFC. Did beat Josh Freeman, though, which is a great win. Has aged pretty well as well, since Freeman just beat Dricus Du Plessis. But Bo Nickel, what a step up in competition, then. I think Bo Nickel can win this one. Figueiredo versus Cup. I think he will be the underdog on fight night, but I just don't really like Figueiredo at 125 anymore, man. I feel like Figueiredo wanted to move to 135. He probably realized that 135 probably isn't going to be the division where he will have a lot of success, because there's a lot of good guys at 135, and those guys, I know Figueiredo is massive for a flyweight. Well, those guys are bigger than Figgy. Figgy would be a little bit small at 135, even though he's a massive flyweight. I like Carp here, dude. Figueiredo's not getting any younger. He's going to struggle to make 125. He always does, and he has recently as well, especially as he's gotten older. I think Manuel Carp wins, man. I don't think Manuel Carp's the best flyweight in the world. I think Moreno would beat Manuel Carp. I think Pantoja would beat Carp again in a rematch. But I just don't know, man. Davison Figueiredo, he just did not look good against Moreno at all in his last fight. And even then, on top of that, I just don't trust him at 125 anymore. That's what it comes down to. Whittaker, we just talked about. I think Whittaker might finish him. Robbie Lawler versus Nico Price. I think Lawler might win the first round, but I think Price will probably rally a comeback and win a decision, 29-28. Maybe get a third round finish over Robbie Lawler. Robbie Lawler recently won, did he not? No, he didn't. He did, kind of, against Nick Diaz. I thought he had a recent win. But, man, he's just not fighting often anymore, man. It makes sense, but I don't know. Robbie Lawler versus another older fighter would have just made more sense. I don't really like Lawler taking on these young guys. I know Nico Price isn't like the best in the world. You know, Nico Price is kind of up and down in his own career right now, but he's still a big name as Nico Price. He can still bring hype. He still brings attention. He puts on great fights. And then Dan Hooker taking on Jalen Turner. I think Dan Hooker gets knocked out. I think Jalen Turner will knock out Dan Hooker, man. Jalen Turner's really good. He just fought Mateus Gamrot on short notice and looked pretty good in that fight as well. You know, like, the thing is with Jalen Turner, he hasn't really beaten the best guys in the world to be at the high ranking that he's at. But the way that he's beaten them, like, he just kind of destroyed Jamie Malaki, absolutely demolished Brad Riddell. Close fight with Gamrot. Some people could argue he won. I did think Gamrot won, but it was such a close fight. I think he's just going to knock out Dan Hooker, man. Like, Dan Hooker's old. Hooker's also big for the weight class. These guys are both pretty big for 155. I just think Dan Hooker, man, Dan Hooker just can't take easy fights, man. Dan Hooker always takes the most difficult fights possible. And, hey, people were picking against him when he fought Claudio Puelles, but I think he gets it done. I think I think he doesn't get it done. I think Jalen Turner beats Dan Hooker probably by knockout. I'm going to say in the first round, honestly. Jalen Turner, this is a good matchup for Jalen, because Jalen wants the fight to be on the feet. And also Hooker. Dan Hooker wants the fight to be on the feet as well. I think this is going to be a good matchup for both guys. So I do like Jalen Turner, though, by KO. I'm going to move on. That was a long video, almost 10 minutes. Most of it was probably me just absolutely blabbering. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed it anyway, and I'll see you whenever the next video is, which is probably probably tomorrow actually. I'll see ya.